Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Zach is Cinema. Yes, welcome back to the best place to talk about movies. At least I enjoy it here. Zach is Cinema is just for all those people out there that just as the years go by, as the months go by, you just kind of forget that Valentine's Day is even a day. To you, it's just another day. Because there's not too much special about, watching a movie alone and having no one to talk to about it, right? If that is the case for you, you have found the right place and the right home at ZakisCinema. We're very happy to have you here, so welcome. Today we're going to be talking about the new movie called Heart Eyes, which was released just this past week in 2025. Heart Eyes, for the director, we got Josh Rubin. For writers for this movie, we got Philip Murphy, Christopher Landon, and Michael Kennedy. Starring in the movie Heart Eyes, we got Olivia Holt, Mason Gooding, Gigi Zimbardo. I think I said that right. We got Michaela Watkins, Devin Sawa, and Jordana Brewster. The plot for the movie Heart Eyes follows a pair of co-workers working on Valentine's Day when they are mistaken for a couple by the Heart Eyes killer. Now they must spend the most romantic night of the year running for their lives. As we hop into this review, I was really looking forward to this movie. I thought the trailers looked cool. I thought the premise looked really interesting. As I've said many times, I really enjoy slasher movies, especially holiday-themed slasher movies, and I feel like since our My Bloody Valentine's movies, we really haven't gotten a Valentine's-themed horror slasher movie, so I was definitely interested in checking this out. When I saw the trailer and all the marketing for this movie, because it felt like a mix of a bunch of great slashers all piled together with like this Scream vibe and skin pulled over it, so it seemed just like a whole culmination of everything I enjoy about in this genre. Like I said, I love slashers. I've been loving the resurgence of original slashers that we've been getting these past couple of years, and I was really looking forward to this, hoping this would be another standout. Let's jump into the review for this movie. For Heart Eyes, we'll start off with the positives, or the things that I just really enjoyed about the movie. So my first positive here, as you guys know, ZakisCinema, we're huge fans of practical effects, and I would say most of, if not all, the practical effects in this movie are terrific. They really hold up well. I think the kills were well executed. Nothing really looked fake, and everything held up well. Like, there wasn't any noticeable CGI to any of the gore and kills in the movie. The movie Heart Eyes, I think, also does a really great job at balancing the violence and gore in a movie like this pretty effectively. I think it delivers plenty of brutal kills while also keeping that same tone that they're going for, which is like fun and upbeat, but it never feels overly extreme or just gore for the sake of gore. It feels like a slasher to me that is very accessible to most people, especially to those who might not typically be fans of the genre, or maybe it was like dragged to this movie by someone else. It doesn't go too far with the kills. You're not getting anything like Terrifier levels or anything in that subgenre as well. Since this was advertised around the Valentine's Day holiday, it's going for that rom-com comedy feel to it. I feel like they knew that this would be a movie for a large general audience, and I feel like they do a great job at balancing all of that and making it super accessible to anybody that might come and watch this movie. Next here, I think there's a couple like standout scenes that really stuck with me, which I also found that very impressive for the movie Heart Eyes, because as we know, the slasher genre is so overly saturated, so when a slasher movie can really stand out in some aspects, it's always something that leaves me thinking after I'm done watching the movie. The opening scene is a blast. It's funny and energetic and does a really great job at establishing the movie's tone. I think there's a really neat sequence in the drive-in theater that kind of highlights Heart Eyes' relentlessness and and determination for his victims and the people that he's chasing. So there's a couple standout scenes here that got me thinking about it even the next day here, which is always such a big positive for me when we're talking about slashers. Next here, I really enjoyed the Valentine's Day theme. I think one of my biggest issues with those My Bloody Valentine movies is they never really took advantage of that Valentine's Day theme. I think in this movie, it makes great use of its Valentine's Day setting, not just through the Heart Eyes Killer, but also in its location, its relationships, and its characters. I mean, the main central plot follows two characters in this rom-com situation, so it's all about their relationship. Are they going to get together? Will they end up together in the end? So already, I think the whole tone and vibe of the movie really stood out to me because it fit that Valentine's Day theme, and they didn't just slap like heart eyes literally on a killer and then do nothing else with it. Speaking of the like rom-com aspect and characters, I think the performances are strong all across the board. I think especially from our two main leads, I believe Allie and Jay are the characters' names. I believed in their characters. I wanted to see them end up together. I liked all the scenes with them together on screen. Next here, the Heart Eyes Killer himself, I think, is a big positive. His design is fantastic. I think his mask is really awesome, and they do a cool thing in the movie. It's not a spoiler. I think they show it in the trailer, but when he's in some darker rooms or darker scenes, he can like flick on a switch and it glows his heart eyes to the color of red. So not only does that make him look so cool and unique in those darker scenes and a lot creepier, but it's also practical because they show you scenes from the POV from the slasher villain, and he could see a little bit better in those darker scenes with the glowing eyes, and everything has this nice like red overlay to it too. So it just, again, Valentine's Day themes, there's red everywhere, and his eyes looked really cool. I think it stood out. It provided a unique aspect to a slasher villain, again, in a genre that is so saturated. And I think the sound design I noticed, I'm not sure if this was just because of the theater I was in, but they really create this like booming effect and these intense footsteps whenever he's walking. All our slasher villains always have these like black boots, but these ones, like, you could hear him walking and it always sounded so imposing and powerful. So I really enjoyed those smaller details to our slasher villains. So I think just the design, the look of him, I really enjoyed, and I love every scene that he was on the screen for. Let's jump into the next section of the review, and honestly, this is a difficult movie to kind of talk about, at least for me. So again, something a little bit new for ZakisCinema here. I don't have too many outright negatives. We'll get into it. So I'm jumping here to my mixed section for the movie. Surprisingly, I felt like most of my thoughts and feelings about this movie just left me pretty mixed. And I really didn't expect to feel this way just based off the genre, the trailer and marketing. I figured I'd have a really good time with it or it'd be like super disappointing. I really did not expect to be like kind of in the middle on this one. It's one of those movies where I liked a lot, I enjoyed a lot of the aspects, but almost every positive kind of had this negative or mixed aspect to it. First, let's talk about the Hard Eyes Killer, what we're all kind of here for, at least I was. I think every scene he's in, like I mentioned in my positives, is he's fantastic. He looks cool, he's imposing, and all the kill scenes are very well done. But at the same time, I felt like his kills just lacked a lot of creativity to me. While his look is unique and the Valentine's Day theme helps him stand out a little bit more, he ultimately just kind of feels like a more nimble and agile Jason Voorhees. Most of his kills involve simple slashings, and aside from his heart-shaped arrows and eyes. There's not much to them trying to do something Valentine's Day theme related with some of the kills here. Since this movie leans so heavily into that Valentine's Day holiday, I guess I expected them to go more over the top with the kills and throw in some of those Valentine's Day themes, but instead he just like has some arrows with some like hearts on it. He sometimes rips out some of the victims' hearts and you see them laying there in the aftermath, but besides that, there's not much here that really separates him or helps differentiate him from other slashers. He's a slasher with a unique look, but every other aspect, he's slashing. He's got a big machete, he's got some arrows, so there's not that much unique or creative done with Heart Eyes. Speaking of Heart Eyes, I won't spoil anything. This is spoiler free, but I do have some mixed feelings on the third act and the way things uncover themselves and end up in the end of the movie, in the climax. On one hand, I felt like everything they led to made sense. I found it surprising, and again, it fits the theme, fits the holiday that they're going for. But the way it's set up and executed feels so similar to something that you would see in Scream, and it reminded me of, I believe, Scream 2 and Scream 5 and maybe Scream 6 too. I won't get into it here, but if you've seen the movie and see how they handle the climax, the very end, those last like 10 minutes, I hope you understand what I'm saying here. The reveal itself is fine, but it felt like a Scream, I hate to say rip-off, but it just felt so similar to some of the endings of the Scream movies. The reveal didn't change my opinion on the movie or help make anything better. It just felt like it existed. When I got reveals, when I got to the climax, I was like, oh, okay. Cool. That's just how it felt watching it. It doesn't really add much depth to our characters or their personal arcs, and just a little underwhelmed. Like, it makes sense, they execute it well and it fits the themes, but still just the information and the supposed to be big reveal just didn't feel as big as maybe they had hoped. I really enjoyed the relationship aspect and wanted to see those characters end up together, but as far as individual characters, without the romance, I felt like there wasn't too much to these characters, and if there was no romance plot, they really would not stand out or work as just single solo characters. Like, there's not much there. Also here, the movie's pretty short. I think coming in at like an hour and a half, which helps keep things moving. But I think there's some significant pacing issues in this movie at the same time. The opening and ending have pretty strong pacing, especially the opening scene. But then right after we get done with the opening, things just come to a screeching halt. And then you just solely focus on the characters and relationship stuff. It felt like a good 30% chunk right after the opening of no Heart Eyes, no nothing, no slasher movie, and just the romance stuff and the comedy stuff. So it went from an opening to a slasher, got me really pumped and excited, then bam, it like the movie felt like it stopped to become a rom-com, and then when you get about to the 60% mark, it's like, oh my god, like guys, like we're making a slasher movie, we gotta ramp things up again, and then it picks up. Again, this is why it's in my mixed here, because overall the movie, it felt like it didn't have too many pacing issues, but it starts off strong, big slug in like that 30% chunk right there, and then picks up again. So by the time you're done with it, you're like, yeah, that was fun, but then looking back on it or thinking about rewatching it, you're like, God, I gotta get through that 30% chunk where it just really halted any momentum that it had going and that was set up in the beginning. For me, the overall plot and story is a mixed bag. The relationship is enjoyable, Heart Eyes is fun to watch, but the main storyline feels thin. Allie, our main protagonist, works at a marketing agency and struggles to come up with a pitch. Jay is the romantic interest character who ends up working at the same agency, and then they get caught up in the chaos of Heart Eyes. So they're working together on some marketing thing for this big company, and then Heart Eyes gets involved, and then from that point on, they're just kind of running, fighting for their lives. The plot is fine for a slasher, so that's why it's not like in my negatives. It's not like it made me hate the movie. It just never really kept me fully engaged, and there wasn't a huge lasting impression. Another mixed aspect I had here is the humor. The humor just was really hit and miss in this, and it's disappointing saying that for a rom-com, or at least a movie that looked like it would be. Pretty funny, maybe a little bit self-aware, but I think the lighthearted tone works well, and there's some really funny moments sprinkled throughout, but a lot of the jokes just fall flat, and there's chunks of the movie where, again, it's like they started off making a slasher, then they're like, oh well, I kind of want to make a rom-com, and then a lot of those jokes fall flat, and then they're like, guys, we got to finish the slasher, and then it goes with chunks without any humor. But the humor's a lot of like that observational, almost like that Marvel-y type of writing, which left me disappointed. There's a scene in a police station where one of our main characters is talking to the secretary person or whatever at the police station, and she's like doing a crossword, not paying attention, and then the character's like freaking out, and you're like, lazy cop doing a crossword puzzle, that's funny, dude. And then she's like, I want updates, I need updates, and the lady's still doing her crossword puzzle, and she's like, what's a 5-letter word for dog? And then one of our main characters is still mad at her, and she just like yells out, bitch. The officer's like, oh, what did you just call me? And she's like, it's a 5-letter word, I was helping you with your crossword. And she's like, oh, okay. That's like some of the jokes. It's just like, it's just not funny. Like, at least to me, a lot of the jokes just like felt like that, just like observational, and like, hey, let's like divert this scene. Let's do a setup and a punchline and divert back. So when the movie kept doing that, and the jokes fell flat. They really fell flat for me. But like I said, there's some funny parts in here. I was snickering. I was laughing, especially at that opening scene. I really enjoy the opening of this movie. But I would say a good 60 to 70% of the jokes just left me with a or just a like a smile. That's about it. Yeah, this movie is so tough to talk about, not only spoiler-wise, but just because I felt so mixed on everything. I didn't have a lot of outright negatives or anything that I hated. There are standout aspects, and I had fun with it, but a lot of the positives come with those mixed feelings or unsure feelings. Many things were just okay, didn't stick with me the way that I thought I would, or that most slashers do stick with me personally. But like at the same time, it's a well-made slasher movie with a unique aesthetic. But when I was watching it, I felt like I had kind of been through these motions before. It follows a lot of cliches of rom-coms and slashers, which is fine for a light-hearted, kind of self-aware-ish tone to a slasher. But again, a lot of it felt reminiscent of Scream, especially with the ending. If you've seen it, I think you know what I'm talking about. And again, with a hard-eyes killer, like, he looks cool, he's imposing, a lot of his kills are interesting, but he's basically just Jason with a different mask. Like, he's just slashing, moves a little bit more nimbly. So again, like, I didn't outright hate it, but I didn't outright love it. I just felt like I'm fully in the mixed here, which is just so surprising to me because I didn't expect to leave the movie this way. For my rating for this movie, I have this as I guess my first rating with an asterisk on it, okay? Because I would like to rewatch it. It's a movie that I could see myself rewatching. Again, I didn't outright hate it, didn't love it, but I feel like to clear up some of my mixed feelings based off my first time watch, I would like to rewatch it, and it is one that I'm looking forward to when I can watch it again. However, as of now, my rating is I would not look to own this movie or add it to my shelf, and I feel like this is a perfect streaming movie experience and would look to watch this movie again, hopefully when it comes out on streaming. You have my thoughts here on Heart Eyes. I'm so very curious, honestly, on people's experiences and thoughts and feelings on this movie. So please, if you've seen the movie, let me know down below what you thought of Heart Eyes. I'm very curious to hear people's thoughts. I don't know if I'm the only one that felt mixed on a lot of the aspects, or if people are outright loving it, or a lot of people just extremely disappointed. So I don't know. Let me know what you think of Hard Eyes. If you'd like to see more movies like this, or maybe a sequel to this movie, let me know down below. Thank you again. I appreciate anybody watching ZakisCinema. Reminder that you're always welcomed here. So again, I appreciate anybody watching my videos. Look forward to more ZakisCinema coming very soon.